Thanks, everyone. I am going to call this meeting of the City and Community Relations Committee to order. I'm Sarah Robinson, the chair. With us on the committee, we have Mr. Bob Cotton, Ms. Liz Boucher, like I might forget your name, and Ms. Jess Campbell will be joining us shortly. She's traveling from work, so this is an unusual time for us to be starting this meeting, so we'll give her some grace. Also joining us, Terry Wolf, our Director of Communications, and Kathleen Murphy, our Superintendent. Superintendent, do you want to start off with reviewing our agenda for the school board and city council meeting on June 7th?
Right, I think that's I'm gonna pull this in.
Sure.
That's an important agenda item for tonight, since we will be meeting with them in June, first week of June, on June 7th. We had quite a robust list of items.
An impossible list.
Was impossible, so I was wondering if we could break that list down a little bit and maybe target 3 areas, because remember, it's joint, so they have their chance too to share with us.
Yeah.
As you know, they're in budget season right now, so they'll share with us some of their concerns and issues, and we can share maybe the 3 items that we want, but
Our list is too long.
our list was very robust, I'll leave it at that.
It's a wish list,
Yeah.
if you will.
But you know, too, that lots of discussion occurs. You know, I meet pretty regularly with Tom Asbell and the business administrator, Matt Walsh, so that we have good sharing of information, what we're doing, how things are going, that kind of thing. So we're doing that anyway, but I think it's really good that the 2 groups get together.
I agree.
So what would you like on that agenda? What were the topics that I didn't bring them with me. We don't have them up on, do you have the minutes from the last meeting? If we get the minutes from the last city and community from,
Oh, gosh.
Did it have the topics in there?
yeah,
did.
I listed all the topics.
Did?
I'm pretty sure I did.
And I think we may have added 1 or 2.
We hand wrote them, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I guess I don't have.
I'm sure that, I know one of the things that we wanted to talk about was development, what plans we have, of course, Memorial Field, the joint work that the city and the district would be doing together. So I can imagine that, of course, the middle school is gonna be on that list as well as something that I know certain city councilors are absolutely gonna wanna have a conversation about, but I don't know where that lands on the list of priorities.
Well, I think when you're talking about joint projects, I mean, Memorial Field comes to the top of my list.
Particularly, yeah.
You know, they may want to talk about the middle school, but I don't know how much they have to do with the middle school other than infrastructure issues.
Sidewalk stuff, things of that nature.
Well,
Yeah.
the water lines, all that kind of stuff, which they've already been addressing at the city council level.
Okay.
So
But it would be nice,
maybe an update from them on where they are on that.
Yeah, I think that's a good. Yeah, go ahead, Terry.
I found your minutes from
Thank
your
you.
last meeting.
Great.
Possible agenda items.
I knew they were on there.
Memorial Field status,
Yep.
middle school project.
Yep.
Status of the water and sewer projects on the heights. City crosswalks, especially those in and around school sites. City projects. Brief history relating to Pennacook City. And the school status and joint meetings held in various wards with school boards and counselors. And
So,
that seems to be.
I think I might want to, and correct me if I'm wrong, we're going to be so limited in time. I think, I'm not sure where, like, the history of Pennacook and, like, Concord proper fits into that conversation necessarily, or that I don't know, do we have the bandwidth to prepare something like that? I mean, I know I'm not putting it together, so that's really,
Right now, it would be a little challenging, only because end of the year, we have tons of
I don't
activities.
think there's anything there that requires action, whereas
Right.
like Memorial Field is going to require action
Yeah.
potentially the next year.
I agree.
The infrastructure in the Heights is going to require action in the next year. So.
Yeah,
I
think we can cross that piece off.
Pennacook's interesting, but.
Yeah, not doesn't have the same sense of urgency as other elements.
So
on
you
that
have two
list.
topics, middle school infrastructure update, as it relates to the Heights, and then Memorial Field. Is there a, or maybe the middle school infrastructure update relative to the Heights is enough to make it two?
I mean, that's kind of like two topics.
Yeah,
to a certain
it is.
extent,
Yeah,
but,
it really is. And I think of the things that the community is going to want to hear us talking about, I feel like the middle school and Memorial Field are sort of front and center for folks right now. And they feel pretty front and center for us as well. And that, I really do think that could take up the entirety of our time, and lead in well to whatever other development the city is planning on moving forward with. What do you think, Liz? You have a
With the middle school project, or did I mishear this? Are we talking about infrastructure of sidewalks, the pump stations, things
Yeah, I
that
think-
go
Yeah.
together?
things
Is
that go
what we mean by
together,
that?
yeah. I
Yeah.
think that's a conversation that we need to have, and or at least address and acknowledge the different pieces that each governing body holds, and how we need to be keeping each other in mind when we're having conversations separate from each other. Does that make sense?
Right.
You know,
So that
the
everyone
other-
hears
the
it.
other
Yeah.
thing that I would just throw in there's been some discussion about, maybe not building a baseball field, that kind of thing. So I
Yeah.
think, discussing with them what the middle school's access, for example, could be to the east side fields,
Yeah, that's a great call, Bob.
whether it's Merrill Park or
Keach.
Keach.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that could be another related thing to the middle school.
I
For
think
sure.
that definitely needs to be discussed as one of those
Yeah.
items.
I mean,
Is there availability, not just like access,
Yeah,
you know,
availability.
availability,
Yeah, yeah.
walking distance, safe walking
Yeah.
to those fields.
Yeah, because it's a public building. It's a community-wide resource. We should be at least asking Parks and Rec,
Yes.
like, hey, what resources do you need that you've been struggling to create access to within, close proximity to the east side and close proximity to Pennacook? What kind of things would benefit the city, not just
Yeah,
the
well, I mean,
student
like
body?
Merrill Park, for example, has got baseball fields.
Mm-hmm.
But, whether they're appropriate in size.
Right.
And then there is the transportation issue, potentially. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's in walking distance, but it's a long walk back up that hill, so.
Well, and is there availability? Because I know
Right.
as a soccer coach in the springtime, we don't have practice scheduled. There's no practice fields because baseball's using all the fields. So
Oh,
we're
that's
even
a good
short.
point.
Park and Rec is even short of fields. So
We're
I,
short
I don't know
basketball
how.
courts.
Yeah, I don't know how we don't need more fields. How would the middle school have any ability to play as they need to for games scheduling?
I totally agree. And we do have the existing fields at Runlet with the plan that we have will not be interrupted. So we still will have use of those fields in the meantime. But expanding field access, as I've found, has been a consistent issue, especially with younger kid programs. If you don't have a place for a feeder program, you're not going to have one. And we were constantly competing, even just like I just mentioned, for basketball space. We were always butting up against other teams, and it was like 15-minute windows. The more access we have to facilities citywide, the better off everyone's going to be. So just being able to calculate those needs more accurately would
I
be super helpful.
personally think that soccer fields or soccer field track situation at Runlet is definitely needed. The baseball part of it,
Yeah.
if we can move that down the hill and put it off for a while, maybe we don't need it right away.
Yeah, having that conversation together would be helpful to help us prioritize.
I think once you get your estimations from the folks and get an idea about what the costs are associated, you'll be able to make decisions like that.
Yeah.
Okay, this can be put off for a few years until we, get our
Yeah.
feet on the ground. So,
Yeah.
but with that estimations, that will help you with that decision.
Oh, for sure.
But I think every time I ever talk to Mr. Gill over at the Parks and Recreation, I mean, he's always saying that he's always field space and availability has always been challenging for him, and with all the different teams that are in the city. So I think he welcomes the additional he's stayed out of the conversation pretty much, but he welcomes the opportunity for more space for kids
Oh, of course.
and adults.
Yeah.
Is it worth mentioning, and I know it's a sensitive subject, but is it worth mentioning? I mean, we really have been very respectful of the trails out there, and that's something that we want people to still continue to take advantage of. But does
yeah.
Yeah,
that,
I do think so, because, I mean, there is a city trail committee that
yeah,
I'm ostensibly a member of, and, you know, I think there are people that care very much about that.
yep,
I think another element of the trail system that might be overlooked is that when we start to move forward on construction plans, we do have intention, from what I understand, to create more accessible trails as part of the system. Like right now as they exist, it's just untraditional, just footpaths. If we're going to have access from the middle school to the trails, it would make sense to create trails that are ADA accessible, not just for wheelchairs, but for people who are maybe just are not as physically able to balance themselves. I think that would be a really, if we want more people to have access to the woods, that means all people, you know? I think that's something we can
right, and I
add.
think that's something, again, that, you know, won't be the priority on your list as you do this project,
Well,
but
for sure,
certainly
but-
it's really valuable. That's a very important
Especially
piece.
if we intend on children having access to forested places as part of their curriculum as the programming committee is moving forward, they'll have to be ADA compliant.
Right,
We
right.
won't have any choice about that.
Right now, they're pretty rough. I walked out there.
Yeah,
and
I walk there all the
they're,
time, yeah.
They're pretty rough, so, I mean, they're not, that's not easily, and I think that Boys Club and Boy Scouts did some work out there many years ago, but, you know, I noticed that there was a lot of overgrowth
Yeah.
and so forth in the trails, so. I think there is definitely some work. And by the way, our middle schoolers have cross-country, you know, so, like, is
Oh,
that like
that's
the most
right.
perfect place for a cross-country team and for competition?
Yeah.
Because the trails can just weave throughout that area.
Yeah, I just think of the increased opportunity for students to have
Right.
access to things that previously were just not possible. There are silver linings, you know. I know there's lots of folks that
Sure.
don't agree with that,
I
but
know.
there's positive aspects to this too.
Well, I think it could be mentioned.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
no
I think
reason
especially
we
if we're
can't.
talking about city trails, like what our vision is, whether it's a full discussion or not, but
Yeah.
just to say, this is our vision, thinking more about
Yeah,
the
I think
commission.
that's never wasted conversation for sure. So do we feel comfortable with this decision as far as like keeping it sort of to the Memorial Field and middle school conversation, because that's really the places where the district is going to impact the city as we know it right now, and those are the things we're moving forward together on?
And I'll
I
include
think
infrastructure.
otherwise it'll just
Yeah.
be too much.
It's too much, it's too
Yeah.
cluttered, yeah.
That's great. I'll work on that
Pare it down.
agenda with Tom and we'll get that together.
Great, thank you so much. Jess had said that she was going to be looking into the possibility of us, or she was gonna try and put together a spreadsheet for signups for the farmer's market, but she's not here, so we can put that off until, later on. If she has the chance to join us, then wonderful, but if not, no big deal. And do we have an update on downtown market days? I wondered, I know Kara is in the lead, but she's not here as of yet.
She sent that sign up.
She did.
Oh, she did?
She did, yep.
How did I miss that? Oh
She
my
had
God.
2 days, right?
There's 2
Right?
days.
Yeah.
Oh my
Thursday
goodness,
and-
yes,
Thursday
thank
and
you,
You
thank
saw
you,
it.
thank you.
Yep.
I've already signed up.
Yeah,
I'm signing up for the Friday shift.
I think I signed up too.
Okay, great. So we are going to have, I guess this is just for community knowledge, where there's going to be school board members, like we mentioned in the last meeting, participating in children's and community art space, like chalk drawing and stuff right outside the State House. It's Thursday and Friday that it's going to be offered. So school board members have signed up to take 2-hour shifts.
Is there anything you want to bring? Is there a table? I
We gotta
didn't,
bring chalk.
We can do that. We can do
We
that.
did it last year, as you recall.
yeah, I know.
And
Did
it
you
was-
bring anything
I
about the
think we might
district
have
or?
had stickers or,
Some
of the
kind of,
little-
if we have any swag, I
little-
suppose.
little
Stickers is
pins or
cute.
something, but not too much.
Yeah.
Okay, let me
Mostly
see.
it was kids
Sticks.
doing chalk
Mm-hmm.
drawing.
Okay. So I'll look and see what we have for swag, but you don't need any
only other thing I
information.
would
You don't want
advise is that,
trifolds and
I don't think
calendars
that's
and-
gonna be, I think mostly it's just gonna be an opportunity for us to be front-facing with
Yeah.
community members. I
I
think that's
agree.
the point.
I agree.
I was gonna say, the only other thing I would advise is for people to bring a chair, because
Yeah, good call, Bob.
standing there for 2 hours
Yeah.
Is an awful lot.
is a long time.
Yeah, I agree.
Farmers market, though, we have materials that you can bring with
Yeah.
you, strategic plans and things like that, trifold,
CRTC
calendars.
booklets.
Yes, the career and
Yeah,
technical.
I think the
That seems,
question there is do we put up a pop-up tent type of thing or
Yeah.
whatever, and,
yeah.
you know.
That thing's a little cumbersome, but if you're just standing on the sidewalk at the farmer's market, it's direct sun
I
the
know,
whole
but
time.
we used to have it, you know,
John used to put up a tent,
the
yeah,
tent with the
with, the-
Concord School
yeah, we have a
Board
banner.
banner, which
Draws attention.
It did draw.
From a
either that or-
distance.
either that or scares people.
I didn't feel that people were very
Yeah.
scared away the last
No.
time I did it. They
No,
were more than ready to engage.
You had the booth kind of
It was kind of on the
east
side.
facing.
Sometimes at least, because one of the questions is whether we have to pay for a space
If we are on the city sidewalk that is,
in front of the State
that is
House.
in front of the State House, you do not need any
So
kind
that's,
of.
that's where we should set up.
Yeah, and which is where we were last time, so it's pretty easy. You come in, you put up, as soon as, you know, you have the ability, you take down. Hey, come on in, everybody. Make yourselves comfortable. Thank you. Yeah, of course.
I cannot do June 1st.
How are you?
but Jess said she could do June 1st, right?
I think she did. I mean, I can't do June 1st either. So, honestly, this is not a requirement of us. I don't necessarily want just one person schlepping all of that
No,
stuff.
I think 2 people is nice.
Two
to
people
bounce
is
questions.
ideal, yeah. And so I would say that if we are not able to get 2 people for a weekend, we call it off. I don't want to put that kind of pressure on anyone. So the weekends that we can get two to 4 maybe, then let's go forward with those.
And I think we need to
And no
open
quorum.
up this opportunity to more than this committee. So-
Oh, I completely agree. So
And
is
no,
that
and no quorum of the board present.
Oh, no, we won't get 5 people there at the same time.
no, not at all. There's
Just-
it's
just
not
check-
possible.
just
It's like herding
checking.
cats to a swimming pool. All right, that feels. Are y'all in agreement that if it's 2 to 3 people, then it's a yes, and if it's 1, it's a no? Okay, great.
Yes.
So not on the agenda, can I throw something out? We have a
Might
few
as well.
minutes before we finish up here.
Yeah.
There was some discussion, you know, we're having some open Q and As for the project in June, especially after we get the estimations and, you
We'll
know,
have
more.
numbers for
We'll
people
have-
finally.
Yeah, lots of opportunity. It's meant to exchange information, not just, it's not like a hearing where you just sit and listen to people's input.
Right.
This will be an exchange, literally a Q and A. Some of the questions the board will be able to answer, there'll be also people available, like the architect and engineers. So is that something that that the city and community want to sponsor?
I don't see why not. My
Wants to what?
question
Kind of be the host.
of
There
this
was actually
back and forth.
some discussion about Sarah facilitating it.
I
given-
mean, I was about to ask.
That's
Yeah.
kind of what the executive committee was thinking about, so I wanted to at least address that a little bit tonight.
And
We'll
I-
throw you under the bus, Sarah.
That's completely. I facilitate for a living, so it's a skill set that I have. However, my only trepidation in that is that as a school board member, I won't be seen as an impartial party. And so if we could have someone that potentially isn't a member of the community, isn't a member of the school board, sort of as a neutral party as a facilitator, is usually best practice. But if that's something that we work really well with New Hampshire Listens. They're excellent facilitators, and that they might like Mo or Carrie or any of those folks that we've worked with previously, if they have the bandwidth to do so. I think, and if that is not possible, I'm happy to do it. But I want the perception and the understanding of impartiality from whoever is trying to create space for that
And the
conversation.
intention was not to start thinking new ideas and having
Nope,
sheets
just
and checklists
just
and
providing
stickers and
information.
just
and, yeah.
making sure that the discussion moves along, people get recognized, that there's appropriate answer.
Yep.
And you move on. We'll obviously record it because that will be valuable and we'll have it recorded.
Yeah.
We'll do one of them out in, I think we decided to do it in, I want to say Millbrook, and then the
Okay.
other one we would do at Concord High School.
In the high school.
Because we wanted to
Great, yeah.
make sure we had enough room for everyone. Let me play with that a little bit, but,
I mean, just see, I would-
yeah, they
Just the
thought
other
it,
thought I'd throw out there is like Concord Green Space, somebody from there.
I usually facilitate for them.
I know you do, but
But they have
you know,
really
there
brilliant
There
people.
are a couple of other people that could.
Yeah.
do it.
Additionally, I would recommend Carissa Caro. She's from Pennacook and she runs Educating for Good.
Yeah.
She does a lot of facilitation for situations like this and will often, like make sure that whatever her cost is manageable. But she's one of the people that I like model my facilitation after. She's really, really
what's her
skilled.
name again?
Carissa Caro.
Did she do the ones at with Green Space?
She did one of them at least.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I remember
Yeah.
seeing her.
Yeah.
Yeah, she did one of the big listening sessions.
Carissa?
About, like, Carissa Caro, Corrow, and educating
Caro, okay.
educating for good is her business. It would be Carissa at Educating for Good. She's a great facilitator, works with districts all the time. Another great person to reach out to if New Hampshire Listens doesn't have the bandwidth.
Yeah, they're pretty busy.
And
group.
again, if it doesn't work out, I'm happy to do that work. But there's enough people who don't like my decision making that I wouldn't want this conversation
Good
to be
point.
perceived as
Great
skewed
point.
because I'm the one facilitating.
Yep, okay.
You know, the other question, and maybe this is not the right forum for it, that I have is, we got 9 people on this board.
Yeah.
Who's speaking for what?
Right. Who's
speaking for
answering
who?
questions? Yeah.
Because there's not total agreement on necessarily
much
any
anything.
issue. And there shouldn't be,
Yeah.
so
I think it
how do
would.
we facilitate?
Who
give and
answers
take?
what question?
Well, or maybe we allow 2 or 3 people to answer each question. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, maybe that's a thought for you to think about, or I just managing. I love the idea of a give and take, but who's giving from our side?
That's
completely
a
agree.
really great idea, Bob. And my assumption would be that, like, Brenda is on the building committee. She would probably be the best person to answer questions related to that, and whoever is on the programming committee.
Actually,
She's on the program
Program.
committee.
She's on the program
Yeah,
committee?
And
I'm on the
Pam
building committee.
is,
And you're
and Bob are on the building.
throwing you under the bus,
Yeah.
Bob.
No, that's all right. But I mean,
You know
even
what I
there,
mean? Like,
there's-
yeah.
There's gonna be give and take even among the board.
Right, and you may not even be able to answer some of the more,
Nuanced questions, yeah.
questions that have details, that you may not know those details. I
Yeah.
wouldn't expect you
Maybe,
to.
the answer is, that's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
We ought to consider it going forward.
Right.
Yeah.
But you would have your architects and engineers there if there were particular questions about,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Although I'm more interested, frankly, from this building's, or this committee's perspective, I don't want our experts answering the questions. I mean, I think the community wants to hear from the school board.
I agree.
I don't think they necessarily, I mean, they can give the presentation, they can, but
they want us to talk to them, to speak with them. The community
We're
wants
the
the board to
elected
speak with
people,
them.
so
Yeah,
it's-
and they've been asking for that from us. I completely agree, Bob.
And those who are asking for it are more likely not to have questions specific to details of the,
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
how is this gonna be built? It's-
Yeah.
They
no,
wanna know.
Their issues are broader.
Yeah, for sure.
Voted for.
So I just want to acknowledge the time. We have folks coming in to celebrate our retiring and distinguished educators at 6. So, hey. I think, do we feel comfortable putting a pin in that and just sort of having a conversation with the executive committee to sort of explore that conversation about who will be lead voices on, depending on the topic? and, deferring to experts where that's appropriate. Does that sound good to everyone?
Does Terry have any suggestions as the
Yeah, do you have any, you're the
communications director?
communications director, do you have any suggestions as far as how communication should be coming from this board when we have a back and forth with the community?
I think that it's something Kathleen and I can talk about as we look at trying
Okay.
to communicate out what we're gonna have these
All right.
sessions, and we can put some
Okay, that sounds
what we
good.
expect them to be like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
all right,
It
great.
feels like that's so far away right now.
Yeah,
And also, if we look into facilitators, the facilitator may have suggestions of
the
how to.
facilitator, if any of those folks that I suggested, they'll have great guidance,
So
honestly.
let me work on it and
Okay.
let me check out the facilitators and kind of put some ideas together.
Okay,
and,
great.
I'm gonna suggest that the City and Community Relations Committee is really the host of this event.
It makes the most sense, yeah,
And, I think that's kind of a nice,
yeah,
point, although all the board will be involved in
yeah,
that.
yeah.
One other question I have, though, in regards to think about, is this, the public is going to have a question for the entire board, and then anyone's able to answer. Is this something that someone from the public might say, Sarah Robinson, I would like you to answer this question?
I mean, if they have a direct question for me and I can't answer it, then I can just say, I don't know, but you know who can answer it? Pam,
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's completely appropriate. They're allowed to.
She doesn't.
I was gonna say, we.
I think we've hit the
stop
wall,
this meeting.
unfortunately. So can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Great, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, any opposed? Abstaining?
No.
The ayes have it. This meeting was forced to end.